Bento agnae. Happy Monday. Happy Monday, everybody. Happy Monday. Monday, February 22nd. Hello, everybody. Sparky1168. Hi. Trey Relay. Hi, how are you? That's sweet. Love you, Maria. Thank you. Salmon, fish, lemon. Will you be my friend? You're here. We're all friends. We're connected. The answer is yes to that. And thank you for being here. Kathleen, Jarrody. Oh, David Phoenix. Hi. I was just talking about you, David, from Palm Beach. My friend David. Dottie, Braham. Hi, Maria. Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you, too. I love this. I love how we all come together here through Instagram. It's a good way to connect in these crazy times. Hi, friend. It's a good way to connect. So many of us feel, disconnected. So I look forward to doing these Instagram lives, to inspiring you, to learning with you, to growing with you. And thank you for being in this community with me. Maria, do I like salmon? I don't like salmon. I'm so sorry. I don't like salmon. Mark Hyman, who's going to come on here in a minute, will probably tell me that's really terrible because salmon is so good for my brain health. And I've tried salmon every way I possibly can try salmon, and I just can't get it down. I just cannot do it. I'm so sorry about it. But that's why I'm actually excited to be talking with Mark Hyman today. He's a great friend. He's a great expert. Allegheny Airlines. I remember when you flew Allegheny Airlines as a kid. Yep, I did. Allegheny Airlines. I flew TWA, I flew Pan Am, I flew all these airlines that no longer exist. Isn't that? Oh, Dizzy Leon. I hate salmon too. There you go. Hello, Maria from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I love that. I love Michigan. I've talked quite a bit about that. My son went to Michigan. And I ended up spending quite a bit of time in Michigan with people from Michigan, and I really love them. You're also going to have to give up sugar. Yeah, I know that. And that's also a huge struggle for me. So salmon is a struggle for me. Giving up sugar is a struggle for me. That's why I'm really happy to be talking to Mark Hyman, who's got this new book, The Pagan Diet, 21 practical principles for reclaiming your health in a nutritionally confusing world. I mean, let's talk about it. The world is so confusing, nutritionally, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, politically. I mean, let's face it, it's just a freaking confusing world out there. And we have to do our best to stay grounded, to try to keep it simple, as I always write, to either rise above the noise or go below the noise. Wherever you find your peace, go there. That's what I try to do, is find out, where can I find my peace? Where can I find my center? Where can I find my calm? Hi, Marie from Oberlin, Ohio. How are you? Oh, there is Dr. Mark Hyman. He's there somewhere. Let me view. Oh, there he's gone. There he is. Books. He comes out with a book every single time I turn around. He has another best-selling book trying to help us in this nutrition. There he is.
Hello. Hi, Maria.
Hi, Mark.
How's it going? Hi from Hawaii.
Hi from Hawaii. Now, you went to Hawaii to get away from the pandemic, or you went there as a sabbatical to write? Why'd you go to Hawaii?
All of the above. All of the above. And I ran into your cousin here, Max.
Oh, you did? Well, that's not hard to run into one of my cousins somewhere. I love you have this kind of boat look, right?
Yeah, right.
Look that you're kind of, are you finding peace? How's your sabbatical?
Oh, it's so great. I mean, just to be able to stop off the treadmill for a while, to focus on the things that are important, to have time to think and reflect and stop. It's really awesome.
Well, you don't seem to ever stop, Mark. I was just talking about every time I turn around, you seem to have a new book that comes out. And I love this because it's The Pagan Diet.
Pagan. It's not pagan. Pagan is a religion. This is I'm not a religion.
Yes, you're right. So pagan is paleo, right?
Yes.
combined with vegan.
Pretty much. I mean, the idea is that, I was sitting on a panel with these two friends of mine. One was a cardiologist who was a vegan, and the other was a paleo doctor. And they were fighting like cats and dogs. And I'm like, well, if you're a paleo and you're vegan, I must be Pegan. Everybody laughed. And I thought, oh, that was a good joke. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, wait a minute, they're identical. They have exactly the same principles except for one, which is where to get protein, animals or grains and beans. Otherwise, they both believe we should be eating whole foods. They both believe we should be eating a lot of colorful fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, that we should be eating good fats, that we should get rid of all processed food, and starch and sugar are not good for us. And, it's really, they both even agree that we should eat dairy. And so the diet wars have gotten people so confused. One day eat keto, then it's paleo, then it's vegan. And it's like, and people just don't know what to do. And the truth is, if you look at the academic science, in the middle, there's a coherent set of principles that everybody agrees on. And the guiding principle of the Pecan Diet is food is medicine. That everything you eat literally transforms your biology with every bite. Not in some theoretical way, but like, for example, the food you eat can alter the bugs that are growing in your microbiome that have huge effects on your overall health, your metabolic health, your mental health. The food you eat, for example, can regulate your hormones in ways that, for example, if you eat a lot of sugar, if you're a woman, you might get hair on your face and lose the hair on your head and get a fat belly and get PCOS because that induces hormonal imbalances. If you eat for example, polyphenols that are in green tea, it helps you detoxify and it's a great antioxidant. So there's every bit of the food we eat sends messages to our body to heal us or to harm us. And quality really is the key. And so whatever you're eating, the focus on quality and all these things around the margins of diet extremes, get people confused. And if they just focus on eating real food, then people would just do so much better.
So that idea, because you've written, what the heck should I eat? You've been trying to kind of make it simpler, and people seem to be more and more confused. But
That's right.
I love the idea of just stepping back and first adopting the belief that food is medicine.
Yeah.
That is a really powerful kind of umbrella, and that everything we put into our mouth, and I like this, affects our brain and our mood.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about Alzheimer's and the brain, but we know that diet has a huge impact on brain health and on Alzheimer's risk. And even as a treatment, there's studies going now on ketogenic diets and Alzheimer's. So we know in a very specific way how to use food as medicine as doctors now, although most don't practice it because we're not trained to do it, unfortunately. Yeah. But those of us who are seeing remarkable results, reversing diabetes, reversing autoimmune disease, reversing depression, even really improving cognitive function, memory, just through the power of food as medicine. And it all stems to quality, because most of what we eat isn't really food in this country.
Yeah, so Mark, if somebody's out there and they've read your other books, What the Heck Should I Eat? And they've been listening to people say, kind of ketogenic, paleo, vegan, no dairy, all of these things. How can they simplify it? And what does a breakfast look like, a lunch, and a dinner?
Yeah. Well, that's why I write. This is my skinniest book yet. Because it's skinny because I just wanted to keep it really practical and simple. It's news to use, and essentially, within each, it's really around setting a guiding set of principles. So it's not dogmatic. I always said people shouldn't let their ideology trample over their biology. Right? In other words, I think I should be vegan, so I'm going to only eat plants. But it turns out that might not be good for you. Or someone's saying, I want to eat dairy because I think that's good for them, but it may not be good for them. So we have to see what works for individuals. And I think in terms of practical principles, it's focusing on what are the 21 principles of the book, which is, for example, for breakfast, I'll often have a smoothie. So I'll throw in like avocado and greens and frozen berries and fruits. I might even sort of spike it up with some phytonutrients. I might throw some green tea powder in there, some adaptogenic mushrooms, just sort of make a cocktail of superfoods for breakfast. Or if you want, you can have some pasture-raised eggs and maybe some avocado, tomato with olive oil. So good protein and fat for breakfast.
But wait a second, I want to stop you there. So people are super busy, right? They're at home. So it's really simply, if you're speaking to a woman who's getting her kids, ready for school, she's got to go and get on her Zoom. She's running around. Really simple, make up her own smoothie. Yeah,
or you can even buy certain protein powders that are fine. But I find that, for example, for me, if I put something together, I have the ingredients in my house, it literally takes less than 5 minutes to whip together a smoothie. And then I don't like to eat on the run, but if you want to grab it and go in the car, you can.
And is that good for your kids as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you can make yummy stuff and it doesn't have to be complicated or hard. People should definitely give up cereal for breakfast because that is the worst propaganda that's been pushed on Americans, which is that we should have cereal for breakfast. It's basically sugar for breakfast.
Okay, so get rid of the cereal, try the smoothie for yourself and your kids, throw
Yeah.
whatever you want. Mark has lots of recipes that he always shares, but throwing, whether it's a protein, a plant protein, a different kind of protein, whatever protein works for your body or makes you feel good. I think that's a really important thing, because I find what works for my daughter or my son doesn't work for me, and they don't understand that. And I try to explain, well, I'm older, I can't maybe digest the same thing, but knowing what makes me feel strong. And then, okay, so then what did the person do for lunch under the Keto diet?
I mean, lunch is, for me, is really often very simple. I'll buy like pre-washed arugula. I'll buy, some nuts like pumpkin seeds. I'll have avocados, maybe some cherry tomatoes. I make it simple because I'm busy. It's a really simple salad. You can put in lots of different vegetables. I might chop up some fennel. I can throw in some, if I want a can of wild salmon, or maybe I'll open a can of mackerel on the side. I didn't say sardines, but sardines are good.
Right.
So
yeah, go ahead. So you'll make a big salad.
Yeah, I just put olive oil and vinegar dressing, salt and pepper. It just takes 10 minutes to do. It's really easy. And I make simple food. I mean, there's great recipes in here like chai pancakes, which are actually made from buckwheat and almond flour and all kinds of chai spices, or black bean brownies. So you can kind of cheat and get good foods. But if you want to make simple foods, which is what I do most times, I usually make 2 or 3 vegetable side dishes. So I'll stir fry some broccoli, I'll roast some mushrooms, I'll maybe have a roasted sweet potato, all very quick. Like I throw the sweet potato in the oven, it cooks by itself. And then I might cook a piece of fish or chicken in the pan, and that's it.
And then for dinner, it's kind of repeat, right?
Yeah, it's like, protein, vegetables, lots of vegetables. I always have 3 or 4 sides of vegetables. So most of our culture is meat as the main dish, right? Yeah. Center of the plate. It's a side dish. Most of your plate should be made up of non-starchy veggies and maybe some like winter squash or sweet potatoes, or some grains like black rice or quinoa that can be fine. So it's really around understanding that eating is something that all of us are required to do to live. But if we don't understand the quality of the food we're eating, we're going to downgrade our health. And so just stocking up your kitchen with the right stuff, getting yourself in a habit of simple things. For example, in the book, I talk about what are the 5 meals that you know how to make, that you can have on hand, all the ingredients all the time. You don't have to think about. So there's just like go-to stuff where you don't need recipes, and you learn how to do it, and it's just so automatic. And then if you want to
what you want to do with this, Mark, you've written so many books, and you've been talking about the importance of food as medicine, really, of food, whole foods. And you've been talking about kind of coming up against the food industry and why that's super important. What is it about this, short of the new moniker, in this book?
Well, it focuses on a number of key principles that I really haven't written as much about before. One is how food is medicine, and why that's so important given the level of chronic disease we have. I mean, this time of COVID, people don't realize that their immune systems are controlled by what they eat. So if you're eating a highly processed diet, if you're eating a lot of sugar and starch, you have poor metabolic health. You're far more likely to end up in the hospital, far more likely to die if you have COVID. And your immune system is suppressed by eating these foods. On the other hand, if you eat whole foods and lots of colorful fruits and vegetables, and eat for a healthy microbiome, pre and probiotics, you literally can upgrade and upregulate your immune system. So people understand that food is medicine. So that's really a foundational principle. And how do we start when we go to the grocery store? Think of it as our pharmacy with an F, right? And I go shopping for my drugs at the grocery store. And I'm like, oh,
that's also the name of Mark's podcast, we should say, and also on Instagram. Pharmacy,
the doctor's pharmacy, yeah, the doctor's pharmacy. Yeah. And then the second principle, it's really different, is personalization. So when I said before, you don't want your dogma, to be running over your biology, right? Your beliefs about what you should or shouldn't do. And how do you personalize nutrition? Because that's really the next frontier, is how do we personalize our diets for each of us? And based on our preferences, on our biology, on our cultural likes and dislikes. And it's really a flexible way to do that. And it's a very inclusive approach to eating. And the third thing that's really important is, how do we eat, not only for us, how do we eat to regenerate our own health, but how do we eat to regenerate our ecosystems that we live in? We're living in a time of ecological collapse. We're living in a time of agricultural destruction where the soil is being depleted. And we really may only have 60 harvests left before we run out of soil. So how do we regenerate the agricultural landscape, regenerate our own health, and how do we eat like a regenitarian? So these are really fundamental ideas that are kind of new, but it makes you think differently about what you're choosing and what you eat and what you want.
So, I mean, those are three huge ideas
Yeah.
that you just kind of threw out, right? I mean,
Food is medicine,
uh,
personalization, and regenerate everything, the
well,
planet.
you're talking about kind of our immune system, the system of our world, the environmental system, right?
Yeah.
What we're eating, who's farming what we're eating, what we're also being sold, knowing our bodies well enough to say, this is what works for me, right? Investing in whole food.
Hmm.
So for so many Americans in particular, and you and I've spoken about this, they didn't grow up, like my generation did not grow up with
Hmm.
thinking of food as something that impacted our mood, was
Yeah.
something that impacted our memory. And it's a
Yeah.
big shift. It's a
Yeah.
big titanic thing to turn around. You
Yeah.
turned it around in your own life.
Yeah.
I'd like you to kind of just address for a second for people who are like, well, I like my sugar, I like my, how do you actually turn it around and why?
Well, I think first of all, the question is, what's our why? What's our
Yeah,
reason, right?
yeah,
Is our reason we want to feel good? Is our reason we want to be able to be more present in our relationships? Is our reason we want to achieve something in life and our work that we haven't been able to achieve? Is it that we really want to contribute back into the world? And I think whatever you want to do, if you don't have energy, if you feel like crap, you're not going to be living a full, complete life. And all of us really want that. And whether it's, just being able to, walk your grandkids to the school bus in the morning, or maybe you want to climb Mount Everest, whatever you are in that spectrum, you want to be able to have the vibrancy and help to do that. And food is really where it all starts. And so for most of us, we really haven't connected to the why. And I think in terms of individuals, and for me, I mean, this is a moment more than ever that food plays a role across the spectrum of all the big issues. We heard Biden talking about his four big initiatives, right? Climate change, the economy, COVID, and social and racial injustice, right? Food connects all of them. The biggest driver of our economic crises is our healthcare costs, which are $1 in $5 in the American economy. COVID is hitting those people who are in poor metabolic health, which is caused by food. Climate change, the number one cause of climate change end to end is our food system. And social and racial injustice are also impacted by the food we're eating, because communities of color and other communities that are disadvantaged are disproportionately affected by ill health due to the foods that are in their communities, in food swamps and food deserts. And then the
I think,
mental health piece is huge. We'll
yeah,
talk about that too. But
yeah. I think that's so important. The idea you were saying that people don't feel well and they go
mm,
to the doctor, they take a pill. But what you're saying is step back, and if you're not feeling well, it starts with your food, not with a pill.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll tell you a quick story. This woman came to see us in Cleveland Clinic who was like severely overweight. Her body mass index was 43, over 25 is overweight, 30 is obese. She was 65. She had heart failure. She had diabetes on insulin for years. She had high blood pressure. Her kidneys were failing. Her liver was failing. I mean, she had one foot in the grave. She was on her way to a heart transplant and a kidney transplant. And so she came in, and she was like a minister and traveled over the world doing her work and helping people. And she really was unable to do anything anymore. And she grew up, she was very educated, but she grew up eating junk food. Her family never had any culture around food or healthy food. It was just all processed food. And then she came into our group program at Cleveland Clinic, and she just changed her diet using the same principles that are in the Pecan Diet. And within 3 days, she was off her insulin. In 3 months, she was off all her medications. Her diabetes was gone. She lost 43 pounds. In a year, she lost 116 pounds. And now she's back contributing to her life, traveling around the world. Well, not so much in COVID, but she was, and
Yeah.
doing good things. And I think, that is the power of food. I mean, we people, as doctors, we don't learn that food can do. Oh, eat better, exercise more,
Right.
lose a few pounds. And they don't tell you how. They don't really know what the connection is between food and health. But it's powerful. I mean, I was talking to a rheumatologist at Cedars-Sinai who said, Dr. Hyman, I've been now treating my patients with this anti-inflammatory diet, and it works better than the drugs, these powerful drugs that we give. These people get better faster, and they do well.
I think that's such a great message. And it also goes back to, as you said, the why, right? It's not to lose weight, right? I
No.
think we're all raised about, oh, you better watch what you eat, particularly women, so you
Yeah.
will lose weight, so you won't get fat. But this is so you can see your grandchildren, so you can raise your children, so you can work the way you want to do, so you can control your
Yeah.
mood. So we've been hearing so much, during COVID, Mark, there's been so much emphasis on, this incredible mental health crisis. People,
Yeah.
terrible anxiety, terrible depression, terrible
Yeah.
loneliness. And food really does impact our depression and our anxiety, correct?
Enormous. I mean, most people don't connect what they eat with how they feel,
Yeah.
right?
So
And it's
somebody
striking
struggling
to
with
me.
that, what should they do?
Well, it's, when you look at the science behind this, it's really robust. And I was just on my podcast, I had a woman from Stanford who was a professor of metabolic psychiatry talking about how sugar and processed foods cause depression and how you can intervene in a medical way with food to relieve depression. Or another physician at Harvard is to start a department on nutritional psychiatry. So this is not a fringe idea anymore. And we know that from clinical trials that people who eat whole healthy foods in a randomized control trial compared to the usual diet people eat, that it works better for depression than anything else. And the study was called the SMILES trial, which is a great name for the trial. And it's not just depression and anxiety. It's also behavior. We know, for example, in prisons, by swapping out healthy food for bad food, that prisoners reduce violent crime by 56%. I was talking to a friend of mine from Japan. She said in prisons, they feed the prisoners extremely healthy diets as a way to control their violence and their behavior. They already know this. Here we don't do that. And in juvenile detention centers, and get this, Maria, in juvenile detention centers, there's a 91% reduction in violent behavior in kids who are fed a healthy diet compared to the other kids who aren't. And 100% reduction in suicides. Now, suicide is the third leading cause of death in this age group. And imagine if there was a pill that could reduce suicides by 100% in these kids. You'd hear about it. It'd be a multi-billion-dollar blockbuster, but it's food and nobody's talking about it.
That in and of itself should make us all stop. Any of us who are parents or any of us who struggle with mood. And I must say, I don't know anybody who hasn't over this past year talked about their mood, their depression, their anxiety. Mm-hmm. And I think what Mark is really, encouraging us is to experiment. If we are feeling that way, look at what's on our plate. Look at what we're going to at night. Look at what we're going to in the afternoon. And Mark, you also talk, and this is something we've spoken about because Mark and I have talked a lot about Alzheimer's and the role of sugar. You write about insulin resistance, and we're starting to hear a little bit about that. So for people who don't understand it, people who might be just now becoming type 2 diabetic or who are being told my A1C is high, they even had never heard of their A1C before, and they're being talked to about insulin resistance. How can they deal with that through diet?
Yeah, well, Maria, this is a massive problem. I mean, 1 in 2 Americans is diabetic or pre-diabetic. 88%. Almost 9 out of 10 of us have poor metabolic health. And that means insulin resistance, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, abnormal cholesterol, all caused by the 60% of our diet that is starch and sugar. So it's basically flour and sugar in all its forms. It's in everything. I mean, there's sugar in salad dressing. There's more sugar in your pizza sauce or your tomato sauce for your spaghetti than there is in 2 Oreo cookies. So people have no idea. It's coming in from all angles. And that drives your body to produce more insulin to keep your blood sugar down. Well, the insulin has all these damaging effects that create damage across the spectrum of all the age-related diseases. So it's the #1 cause of heart attacks, of strokes. It's a huge cause of cancer, obviously diabetes, and even Alzheimer's. While there's many causes of Alzheimer's, one of the key mechanisms is insulin resistance in the brain. We call it type 3 diabetes now. Some researchers at Brown are calling it type 3 diabetes. And so it's not that sugar is bad. I mean, there's a whole principle in the book, The Pecan Diet, about how to eat sugar as a recreational drug. I eat sugar, but it's not a staple of my diet. I don't have it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The average American has 22 teaspoons of sugar a day. Some kids have 34, 35 teaspoons of sugar. So that's the problem. It's not that it's evil. It's just a dose. And it's like I like to drink tequila, but I don't have it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'll have it occasionally. Once or twice a week, I'll have a shot of tequila. That's it. So I think people need to understand that it's not about deprivation or not having anything. It's about the overall balance. And when you eat a diet of whole foods that are rich in fiber and phytonutrients, It's full of good fats and good quality protein and lots of colorful plant foods. The cravings and the desire go away. Like I can walk by a candy aisle and it doesn't call my name anymore. Like I go out by the Starbucks thing with all the muffins and the scones and I'm like, it doesn't look like food to me anymore. Like I wouldn't want it. It's like I don't deprive myself of anything that I want. But as you change your biology, you change your hormones. And the insulin does a lot of bad things. One, it makes you really hungry and crave more carbs. Two, it makes all your energy go into your fat cells. So it's like a one-way turnstile into your fat cells, and it locks the fat in the fat cells, and you can't get out. And three, it actually causes you to lose muscle. It causes you to have cravings. It causes you to have slower metabolism. And it's just this horrible vicious cycle. And it's easily fixed. Like this woman in 3 days, she got off her insulin by radically changing her diet.
So what if somebody's sitting there and they were just told by their doctor that they're, that they're borderline type 2 diabetic, or that their numbers are high? What can they do right now, regardless of their age?
Well, I think they need to do a fridge and a pantry and a cupboard biopsy and a freezer biopsy and go through. And if anything has sugar in it, high fructose sugar, get it out of the house. Like if your home is in a safe zone, then you're in trouble, because we cannot use willpower to overcome this. The second thing you have to realize is that fat and protein are your friends. So if you eat fat and protein with every meal, especially the fat, it cuts the hunger and the cravings. So in a very short time, the cravings and the hunger will just go away, and you'll feel full and satisfied and won't want the carbs and the sugar. So that's really, really important. And I think, people try to do incrementally, and that sometimes works, but sometimes you have to go cold turkey, because it is an addictive substance. And, you have a little bit, you want a little more. And if ever people haven't done a 10-day reset, like basically like it's like hitting the reset button on your computer, it puts your body back to its original factory settings. It's worth trying, because most people don't connect the dots between, like I said, how they eat and what they feel. And in 10 days, if you upgrade your diet, you cut out the crap, you add in the good food, your body will change. Your cravings will go away.
There's a lot of questions here, and I'm just reading. They're going so fast here, Mark. But people are asking, like, is keto the same thing? The book is coming out tomorrow. You actually can't get it today. I went to try to get it in the bookstore, and they said no, it comes out tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we're going to have this in our Sunday paper and a link to buy the book, so you can buy the book, or you can buy it anywhere, obviously. But people are asking, can I do this right now by going on keto now?
Yeah, keto is one extreme diet, and I think it's a therapeutic diet, but it's not, I think, appropriate for everybody or for most people, right? Okay. If you have, I was just talking to a woman who had, his mother had brain cancer, and she went on a keto diet, and the brain cancer went into remission. It might be therapeutic for Alzheimer's, and there's good data on keto and cancer, for example. If you are someone who's a type 2 diabetic and pretty far advanced, keto might be a great step. If you have Alzheimer's, if you have epilepsy that's untreatable, even autism, they're studying it. So there are therapeutic uses for it, but I think this is not a keto diet. And this is really a diet that can be adapted to any set of principles, because you can do keto by eating like, Crisco, right? But that's not necessarily helpful. It's going to harm your body. But you can also do keto by eating lots of extra virgin olive oil and avocados and good fats that are helpful for you. So really, it's always, whatever you're doing, however you're eating, it's always about the idea that quality is first, that food is medicine, and that the ingredients should be the best possible ingredients, which are the information you're giving your body to heal or harm.
I think that thing Mark and I have spoken about in the past, and you just touched on it a minute ago, about, doing a deep dive, or kind of an edit, a declutter of your pantry, and taking kind of willpower off the table, really.
Yeah.
And I think you did this great experiment about kind of getting a community together, and how maybe also, could you talk about having accountability partners?
Yeah, of course. So I always say that a friend power is far more powerful than willpower. And then everybody needs a buddy. And then change is really, and getting healthy is a team sport, because when we're alone, it's very hard for us to sustain change. And we are tribal people. We grew up in community throughout our evolutionary history. We actually find that when you look at the data on behavior change, it is one of the most powerful tools, which is being in a community, whether it's Weight Watchers or AA, Tina Rosenberg from the New York Times wrote a book called Join the Club about the power of groups and community. I mean, even if you're in a knitting club, your longevity is extended just because of the power of connection and community. We did this with the church in Saddleback Church, where we got 15,000 people to lose 250,000 pounds. And it wasn't through any great medical intervention. Not only did the weight loss happen, because that was really a side effect. And in the Pecan Diet book, there isn't a chapter on weight loss, because it happens automatically as you get healthy.
I love that.
It's like, forget about weight loss. If you create health, the weight loss is a side effect, right? And so people lost weight, but they also had reversal of all these diseases. And they did it in small groups, supporting each other every week, which they already were running to live better lives. They all wanted to support each other in their spiritual lives, but we hijacked their groups and put in a healthy living curriculum. And by changing their diet and supporting each other, they had jogging for Jesus. Instead of the pancake breakfast, they would have healthy food on the campus. And so it really changed everything. And it was really through that.
So that's about it, being in community. A couple people, not a couple, I'm just trying to read here so quickly, but a lot of people struggling with insomnia. And there's some questions here about, is there anything to eat for that to help you sleep? Do you get into that in the new book?
Yes, I don't specifically talk about that, but what we often find is when people do the 10-day reset, which I talked about in the book, the sleep gets better, because often the food is activating them. If, for example, you eat sugar in your diet, it activates the stress hormones. So it activates cortisol and adrenaline. So if you're having sweets at night, that's going to upregulate your hormones that are meant to keep you awake and alert and running from a tiger. Well, you can't sleep when that's happening, right? But if you have, for example, good fats, that's going to reduce that level of stress in your body, and that might help your brain work better and sleep better. There's foods, for example, like nuts and seeds, which have tryptophan in them, which you can enjoy as a sort of an evening snack, which may help you increase serotonin and melatonin and sleep. There's a lot of really simple, practical tips around upgrading your diet, which will improve everything. And that's the beautiful thing about it. It's not like there's one diet that's going to cure cancer, but another that's going to cause heart disease, but another one that's going to help you sleep, but it's going to cause you to gain weight. Or there's a way of eating that will help reset your body to its original factory settings and become functioning in a better way. And that's really the whole purpose of the Pecan Diet.
So I love this. The book is The Pecan Diet. It's coming out tomorrow. We're going to put there he is. He's up. It's his 13th. Will be a bestseller. There's so many questions on here. Can I still eat a steak? Do I have to eat salmon? I mean, do I have to eat sardines?
Yeah. No, you don't have to eat anything.
Yeah, but I think what really, for me, what's super exciting is this is not a book about weight loss. I think that's really important. This is a book that empowers us, right, to think about what works for us and gives us the freedom to combine different ways of eating into our own version, right? Yeah. That's really what you're saying.
Yeah, that's true. Someone said, "Why are you calling it a diet if it's not a diet?" Well, the first line of the book is basically like, do we really need another diet book? No, despite the title, The Pecan Diet is an undiet, a simple set of principles blending science and common sense. So, the publisher wants me to put diet on the cover for sure.
But I was just going to say, be smart about that, especially if you have like Pegan. People will be like, "What's Pegan? Pagan? Pegan?" So I think so you're going to sell a book, but it's not to lose weight. I think we finally have come out of that era, I hope, and really thinking about what do we eat so that we can be our optimal best, and also that we can change this, right, Mark, right? That this is for somebody in their 20s and 30s, but it's also, you can change how you feel in your 60s.
Totally. I mean, I feel stronger and better than I've ever felt, and fitter, just because I've learned more and more over the years. And I think I just want to give a closing example about how food is medicine and why all food is not the same. So let's just take meat, for example, because there's a chapter is like eating your meat as medicine, which maybe sounds very controversial in there. But basically, here's the idea. If you look at quality and meat, if you take a feedlot cow, it's fed corn, it's not its natural diet, it's fed antibiotics and hormones, it's fed ground up animal parts, even things like Skittles sometimes. They feed cows candy. They found a whole truck full of Skittles on the road that was on their way to a feedlot to feed the like old expired candy. If you're eating that meat, that's very inflammatory. It's bad for the cows. They live a horrible life. And it's bad for the environment. It's a huge driver of climate change. However, if you eat, let's say, a wild elk or maybe even grass-finished beef that's fed on hundreds of different plants, that it actually upregulates the phytochemical content of the meat. So the meat actually has these plant chemicals in it. The fats are higher quality. It's less inflammatory. There's more antioxidants. It actually reverses climate change, restores ecosystems, conserves water, and builds soil. Very, very different for you, very different for the planet. Same ounce for ounce. And they've actually done studies on this where you look at, for example, kangaroo meat in Australia. They did a study where you can get that pretty readily versus feedlot meat. The kangaroo meat reduced inflammation in the body, where the feedlot meat raised inflammation. They're both meat, but they have different information in the food, different medicine in the food. And that's really what I go through in each of the principles in the book. If you're going to eat meat or grains or beans or fruit or vegetables or nuts or seeds, which ones should you be eating? They're not all the same, and they all have different properties. And so it's sort of like a guiding set of principles. It's super flexible, super inclusive. It's not dogmatic, and allows you to enjoy everything.
And for sure, it'll be a bestseller. I'm going to add it to my my cookbook section in the kitchen, which already has pretty much is all my.
I gotta come over and sign them all.
Contessa in there a little bit, but it's
all right.
What the heck should I eat and everything else. And you can go obviously to Mark's website. You have that whole 10-day reset.
Yes,
yes. Yeah, you have that. You have recipes. You can watch you on Instagram. You're like a whole, entity unto yourself. What I love about Mark is he puts all these books out, but he really tries to connect it, what I like, to the policy, the politics, the food, our own empowerment. And you try to always, which I admire so much, is you stay current with it. Okay, here's what's new. Here's what I know. Yeah. And you're learning with us. It's not
absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important thing, that people beat themselves. Like my daughter said, you gave us terrible food 15 years ago. I know so much more, right? She's like, I had a Lunchable. I'm like, I'm sorry.
You're a bad mother, Marie. You gave your daughter a Lunchable, but your kids turned out all right. It's all right.
Yeah,
we're resilient. But you know but that's it's important people to realize that it's never too late. Like this 65-year-old woman who reversed her diabetes, her heart failure, her kidney failure, her liver failure, her blood pressure, lost 116 pounds in a year. That the body can do that even at 65 is a freaking miracle. So don't lose hope. It's never too late. And by the way, with COVID, the best thing you can do to protect yourself is to upgrade your health by upgrading your diet. That and taking vitamin D.
Mark's new book. And Mark's new book.
There you
Mark
go. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Maria. You're the
There have
best.
been so many great questions here. Nonstop about, which just shows me how educated the audience is, how curious the audience is, how inquisitive the audience is. And that's a whole transition, really, in the last 5, 6, 10 years, really, in the last 2 years, too. I think
people are getting it. People are getting it.
People are getting it. So I want to thank everybody for joining. So many of you joined in. The book comes out tomorrow. We'll have it for sale in the Sunday paper. We're going to repost this interview, reconnect to all of Mark's work and to his website, and just keep shouting him out because he does such great work. And one day, I'm telling him one day I'm going to come see him so I can be that 65-year-old woman.
Come on. Now we can do Zoom consults. You don't even come. I can work with you anytime.
Okay. Anyway.
And then you can share it all. It'll be fascinating. I'm doing that with Katie Couric. She's doing the Pecan Diet. She's going through it all. She's going to be sharing on Instagram, sharing all her labs and all her changes of her body and everything. She's excited.
I'll have to do something special for me. So you'll have to figure out how you can do it. I can share the changes in my body. That sounds exciting.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Bye, Maria. Lots of love.
Bye. Lots of love. Thank you. Bye-bye. That's so fun. Oh. Okay, I just wanted to thank all of you for joining. That was a really great conversation with Dr. Mark Hyman. His new book comes out tomorrow. We will reshare this in the Sunday paper. If you don't get the Sunday paper, please sign up for it. It's free. It comes out also on Wednesdays, midweek, and on Sundays. And we'll share this conversation again so you can hear it. And there's a lot of really great questions on here about what is the ideal time to go to bed and to wake up, follow the kind of natural cycle junk food tastes good, but really bad for you. That's really true. Real food and exercise, that's true. We didn't talk about exercise, but that's so critical. This was really focused, a conversation on his book and on food as medicine, but very much included in that. Obviously, if you want to be brain healthy and you want to stay healthy and you're focused on your longevity, exercise, movement, social connection, curiosity, all of these things are, really big and important parts of your overall holistic health. And then also understanding what is good for you. So when your kids say, do what I do, you can say that's maybe not good for me. I have to do it this way because I know that that's what works for me. So, gosh, a lot of questions on here. But so maybe we'll find another time for Mark, or maybe I'll actually do celery juice did nothing for me, somebody says. Well, it actually does well for me. I have it right there. I actually like it. So there you go. There's a good example. One person, nothing, celery juice for me, it's good. So, so try to eat whole foods, try to eat real food, try to prioritize your health, try to prioritize yourself, because that makes you a better partner, a better parent, a better provider, a better person. Thanks so much for joining us on Monday. Have a great day. Oh, gotta go. Done.